back to the channel. So in today's video we are going to learn build and deployment of a very interesting application, and I'll explain every step in detail, how it is working, what its functionality, its architecture, and how we are going to build and deploy it. Okay, so before we start the video, I would request you please subscribe to the channel. We are very close to 30,000 subscribers. Also team, if you need dedicated sessions for learning DevOps, you can join this batch which is starting from 5th of January. Link will be in the description. And there is this free masterclass which I have launched happening on 7th of January, where I'll be teaching complete Azure DevOps hands-on. And team, since I am back from my vacation, so I have enabled TopMeet again, and it's completely free. If you want to have one-to-one sessions with me, one-to-one direct connect, you can just schedule a call here and you can connect with me directly. Okay. So team, now let me show you the architecture of the project, how we are going to deploy it. Okay, so first of all, I have kept my source code on a GitHub repository, and now we are going to set up Jenkins, where we are going to create our CI/CD pipelines. After that, we are going to perform the SonarQube analysis on the project for the code quality check. Okay, then we are going to use OWASP dependency check for vulnerability scanning. But at this point, you might be thinking ki Aditya was using previously for the file system scan OWASP as well as Trivy both. But when I was studying recently about both the tools, so I just figured out that for scanning the dependencies, best tool is OWASP dependency check, and if you want to perform Docker image scanning, then in Trivy is best. Okay, for that reason I'll be using OWASP dependency check for the file system scan. Okay, once this part is completed, then we are going to build our Docker image and after the Docker image is built, we are going to scan that Docker image using Trivy, and then we are going to push the Docker image to sorry guys, to Docker Hub repository. Now usually once we have the image, we just deploy the Docker image to Docker container and our application is running. But this time we are going to use Docker Compose as well. The reason, because usually Docker Compose part is used for an application which is running using multiple containers. But at this point, the main reason of using Docker Compose, because we need to have multiple environment variables and we are going to open different kind of ports. We are going to open a static port as well as dynamic port also, dynamic port range, which I'll explain in a bit. So for that purpose, sorry guys, I am a little bit sick. So for that purpose, I am going to use Docker Compose, and once we have this Docker Compose file, then we can deploy the application. So this is what we are going to perform. Okay, now let me explain you about the application, what kind of application we are going to use. And it's a kind of virtual browser, and the benefit of this application is that you can set up your own browser be it Firefox, Chrome, or any other browser. Excuse me guys, sorry. Okay, so you can set up your own Chrome browser, Firefox, or any other browser separately in a very secured environment which is accessible to you. Okay, and benefit of this application is that this browser will be in an isolated environment securely. Okay. Talking about how we can set it up. So first thing that we need to have is a VM. Okay, so for that you can go to your Amazon account or wherever you have VMs. So let us create a VM. Okay, but before that, one more thing that you need to make sure that you have opened specific ports. 1 second. Security groups, scan it. Okay, I need to log in. I forgot to log in. Give me 1 second and I'll be logged in within a minute. To make it more secure, I have just started using MFA code, so nobody else can log into it. Okay, so we are logged in, and now whichever security group you are going to use. Okay team, so basically whichever security group you are going to use. For example, I am going to use Launch Wizard 2, right? So in that all the ports are open fine, but one port is going to be a UDP protocol with a range of 52,000 to 52,100. Okay, I'll explain in a bit why we are using UDP, and but rest other ports which are going to be needed is like 8080, 8081, 9000, like that. So I just opened a range of it, 3000 to 10,000. If you don't want to open a range, you can just go with specific ports, right? Okay. So once you have these ports open, you can create your instance. Let's provide the name as server. Ubuntu machine I'm going to use, and version will be 20.04. Instance type I'll be going with T2 large. Key I already have, and yeah, select the security group which we have configured. Storage will be, in my opinion, I'll just take 25 GB of RAM. Storage. RAM will be 8 GB, and launch instance. Instance is launched. We can get the public IP address. Go to our MobiXterm and read the last session, which is going to be this one. So we can paste it here. Okay. Now let's wait for a few seconds once this virtual machine is up and running, right? And let me just double click on it. Let's wait. We just provisioned it, so it's taking a little bit of time. No issues. Let's wait. Let me just relaunch it one last time. Okay, as you can see, it's up. Now first thing that you should always do while creating working with a VM is run this command sudo apt update. What it does, it will update the Linux repositories, and all the packages that you need to have are available for usage. Okay, so yeah, it's almost done, I guess. Okay, now first thing that we need to do is set up our Jenkins. Okay, so the prerequisite for Jenkins to work properly is to have JDK installed. So if I check Java, nothing is installed. Okay, previously remember that I used to install JDK 11, but the thing is slowly its support for Jenkins is not so good at this point. It will give you like warnings, so instead we can go with JDK 17. And let's wait for it to complete. So once it is, meanwhile it is getting done, we can find out the like how we are going to set up our Jenkins. So for that we can just go to install Jenkins or Ubuntu, and the first link that you see, it's an official page of Jenkins. Okay, so easy way is like multiple ways you can install like Jenkins, right? Docker, Kubernetes, Linux, Mac OS, war file. So by default usually I go with this, but at this point I'm going to go with war file. Okay. Reason, I'll tell you the reason that I want to use war file is because when I use this method, it will by default install Jenkins on port 8080, and I want to install Jenkins on another port. Okay, so see, this is one of the command that we are going to use as java-jar jenkins.war and port this one. You can see this is a single command that we need to use, that's all, right? And this is also the way that you execute a java var or jar file, so remember that. Okay, so let's download the Jenkins war file. Where is it? I can copy the link address and I can download it by running the command wget. Now we have downloaded the war file right now, right? So we just need to execute the command using which we can run our Jenkins. Okay, now port, quickly I will change to 8081 so my Jenkins can run on this port. Okay, click enter. And you see the one issue is with that Jenkins is running, okay, it's running dynamically, it's not running in background. So if I close this, Jenkins will also be closed. So make sure that you do not close this thing. If you want to do anything, you can just open different page of the same server and you can work with that. Okay, okay, now let's access Jenkins. Port, you remember I set up port 8081. Meanwhile, let me close these pages. Okay, now here it is asking for initial admin password, which as you can see it is already available to us, so we can just copy this. Do not press Ctrl+C or else this page will be closed and again you will be stuck. So just select it, it will be copied automatically. Okay, and always go with install suggested plugins because Jenkins knows better than you which tools or which plugins is necessary for it. So we can click on it, and depending on the speed of your network as well as connection, so it will take few minutes. So let's wait for it. And sorry guys, just please ignore my coughing and this, because I'm this cold is very bad. Okay, so yeah, we'll see you once this is completed. Okay team, so once Jenkins have been installed, this page will appear as soon as, okay, and here you need to provide the details of setting up a admin user. So first I will provide the username, password will be same, okay, name will be this, and email address we can put anything. Okay, click on save and continue, and Jenkins is set up. One second. Yes. Okay, so Jenkins is ready. Now Jenkins is set up. Now what we need to do is basically configure Jenkins by installing certain tools. How we can do that? We can click on manage Jenkins, plugins, go to available plugins, and some certain plugins we are going to install. First, SonarCube scanner, then I need to have OWASP dependency check. Okay, and another tool I need to have is Docker. So for Docker we are going to install multiple steps, because multiple tools, because we need to write the steps also. Okay, and as you can see it is installing. So now we can go to Jenkins server. As I told, do not close the first one where Jenkins is running, because it is running at it is not running in background. Okay, so here what I'll do, I'll install Docker and set up SonarQube. So as of now Docker is not installed, as you can see, so I can copy this, paste it here, and now this command will install Docker, right? So this is installed, right? Now we need to have Docker Compose also, because as I explained, we are going to use Docker image and Docker Compose both. So for Docker Compose, if I check if it is installed or not, we can see it's not installed, but we got the commands, right? So I can quickly install it. Okay, meanwhile it is getting installed, we need to make sure that Docker and Docker tool is being like available for usage by other users also. So for that we can run this command, which is basically changing permissions. Okay, now this part is done. Now we can set up our Docker. For that we can run the command, we can set up our SonarQube. So we can run the command docker run -d-p 9000 colon 9000. 9000 first one is the host port, and second one is the container port. Host port is the port where the container will be getting created, and this container port is the port that is open on container. Okay, that means this port that you are seeing, it is the port that will be open on this VM virtual machine. Okay, and this is the port that is going to be open on the container that we are just going to create now. Okay, clear? And we are going to access the container application using this host port. Okay, okay, now now let us provide the Docker image name. So I'm going to use SonarQube :LTS -community version. I'll be taking a detailed session on SonarQube also. It's not very easy application. You need to know inside out, which I'll explain someday. Okay. So SonarQube is getting set up, and by that time we can see that all our plugins have been installed. But once you install plugins in Jenkins, you need to make sure that you have configured them properly. How do we do that? So for that we can go to tools or global tool configuration, as we call it before. Scroll down and you will find all the tools which you have installed just now. First let us configure Docker. Always go with the option install automatically, and we can go with first one, right? Then we have dependency check. So I'm gonna provide the name as DC, and again install automatically, and we are going to select git install from github.com. And version, so there are so many different versions, but usually I go with 6.5.1 because it is kind of works for my projects. Okay, one last thing we need to configure is Sonar Scanner, so let me provide that as well. Sonar Scanner, and version we can use the latest, it's fine. So whatever plugins that we just installed, they are configured now. We can click on apply and these are saved. Okay. Another thing, we need to check if our SonarQube is running or not. So for that we can run the command docker ps and you can see SonarQube is running on port 9000. How do we access it? So for that we are gonna take the public IP address, paste it here and then 9000. Okay, so by default the username and password of SonarQube is admin, but we need to change it for the first time. Here let's provide old password first and then new password. You can select your own password, no issues, and click on update. Now SonarQube is set up. Now we need to create a token which we are going to use for authentication between SonarQube and Jenkins. Okay, instead of like long ago we were using username and password, but now it's better. One better option is that instead of that you can just go with tokens. Token is like more secure way of authentication. So we can generate a token by going to users, then tokens, provide any name you want, generate, copy. Now this token we need to add inside Jenkins in credentials section. So we can go to manage Jenkins, credentials, global, add credentials, and this is a token. So for that we are going to select the option select text, paste the secret here, and let's provide the name as sonar dash token. Copy this and paste it again here. Now Sonar token is added as a credential in our Jenkins, which we will be using soon. One more thing that I need to add is like Docker credentials, because we are going to push our Docker image to Docker repository. So quickly we can add that as well. First is username. Second will be password. Password I can put whatever I have been using for Docker. Okay. And in ID you can provide anything, Docker cred. By the way, putting ID is not mandatory. It's like if we put it, it's better because we can identify our credentials. So these two credentials are created, right? And SonarQube is also created. So now one small configuration that we need to do inside SonarQube is add the third-party server of SonarQube in Jenkins. So that we can do inside this play system. Open it. Scroll down, and since we have installed the plugin SonarQube scanner, so we'll be able to see this option. Now we need to add the SonarQube installations. So name I'll just put as sonar and URL. So URL we can put till 9000 and make sure that you have removed this slash. Okay, and now token we have already added, so we can select it and click on apply. Now everything is done. Now we can start writing our pipeline. Okay, so let's do that. Yeah, so name I want to provide as virtual browser, right? And select the pipeline option, so we can write the pipelines. Discard old builds. So as a part of best practice, I'm just going to keep only 2 builds in history. Scroll down, and yeah, always go with the hello world, because it will give you a small template using which you can write your own pipelines. So first I'm going to create multiple stages. It's very easy actually. Okay, 4-5 stages I have created, right? Now let us configure. So for that, let me go here. Yeah, let me make it public actually, so that you people can also use it. Change visibility, change to public. Okay, let me provide the authentication. For whatever I use, I have just made up this multi-factor authentication, so it's more secure. Okay, and yeah, so the browser is public now. Now what we can do, we can write our first stage. Also team, do not forget the owner of this browser repository is this person. If you want to check out, you can just click on it and you can check out his projects. Okay, now as I have already told you, in case you are not very expert in writing pipelines manually, you can just take help from pipeline syntax. It's much easier. We can go here, select the option as git repository URL and branch. So in my case, the branch is main, just one branch is existing. No credentials because we have not made the repository private. Okay, so we have the first stage and we can just put it here, change the stage name to git checkout. Okay, next thing that I want to do is WASP dependency check. Okay, now here we need to write specific command. So as you remember that we have just configured our WASP dependency check. Here let me show you with the name DC. Same thing we need to use. Okay, in case again you don't know how to write these steps for WASP dependency check, you can take help from pipeline syntax. You can find here dependency check. Okay, and here we need to provide certain arguments. See, now this part is done. So what I'm going to do is I'll copy this whole thing, paste it here. Okay, and here we need to provide arguments. So arguments usually can be in this format, scan. Now this arguments hyphen scan, basically what it does, it will let you know that which path you want to scan. Okay, so what I do, I can just put a dot slash, that means just scan the current directory. Okay, and one more thing, let me show you quickly. Where is it? Yes, same thing, this you can see I have added here. Okay, but here if you see, like, there is one more thing added which we have not yet added, right? So again we can go to here and you see this option, dependency check publisher pattern. Now here a pattern you can put and it will generate the same thing. So we got this command, we can paste it here. Okay, and the pattern that I want to generate my reports in, by default I'll just go with this. So this XML formatted report will be generated on this location. I'll copy this and paste it here. Now this stage is also configured. There will be error coming later which I will help you fix. Okay, but yeah, now let's move on to SonarQube stage. Okay, so for using Sonar, like performing the SonarQube analysis, first of all we need to have a way in which we can call our SonarQube scanner, right? So for that, what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to create an environment which will be in this format. Okay, let's create a variable, scanner underscore home. This will be the home path of the SonarQube scanner, and we are talking about Sonar scanner, right? Okay, so variable is created. Now what we need to do, we need to use this tool, call this executable of the tool. Okay, but we need to have like where we want to execute, so we need to have this execution or report generated on this server, right? SonarQube server. So we need to have a block inside which we are going to execute the commands. So what do? We can again take help from pipeline syntax. Here let me see, with SonarQube environment. So this is a environment using which we can yeah, this is the block inside which we are going to run our commands, and then the analysis, the analyzed report, the report that got generated after the analysis, can be uploaded to the server. So let me show you. I have pasted it, right? But still there are some changes we will be doing here. You see, we are just providing credentials, right? But instead what we can do, we can remove this part. Now you might be thinking why I'm just writing Sonar. Now let me show you from where this is coming. So you remember while I was configuring the SonarQube server in system, we provided the name as, where is it, Sonar, right? So this Sonar, this is the installation that we are providing. That okay, under this, inside this installation, the report should be published. Okay. Now what I can do, I can write the commands for executing the SonarQube analysis. Okay, now usually in SonarQube you could have multiple lines of code. So in general we use double quotes, right? But in case you are having multiple lines of code, you can go with 3 quotes, and you can write multiple lines of code, and at the end you can just put back the 3 quotes, right? Okay, here first of all we need to call our variable which we have created above, scanner underscore home slash bin /sonar scanner. Now you might be thinking why I'm using bin. So usually when a tool is installed, its executable, which is going to perform the whatever task is there, exists inside bin. Okay. In our case, it's sonar scanner, right? Now we need to provide some arguments, something like the sonar dot project key equal to, let's say, virtual browser, and do not forget to remove any space after equals, because if you do, it will cause issues. Second argument which we are going to have is sonar dot project name. Here also lots of people used to make mistakes like p small k capital, p small n capital, so do not forget that as well. And our name will be same as previously. Now as I told, in case you are having multiple lines of code, what you can do, you can just put it in second line. Here you need to put one slash, and this will be closed with 3 quotes. Okay, so SonarCube stage is done. Now let us write the code for building the Docker image. Okay, Docker build image. Build and tag we can do together, I guess. Okay, now writing the Docker commands, we will be including it inside the script in this format. Okay, now the thing is ki Docker file also, team, one more thing, like I want to give you some task also. So I'll be using this Docker file. The file exists inside here, but if you want to configure other browsers like Tor browsers, Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Chromium, Brave, Base, so you can use these folders. Okay, and a task for you all, that implement this for other browsers as well, whichever browser you like. Post it on LinkedIn and tag me. I'll be happy to reshare your post. Okay. Okay, coming to Firefox. So this is the Docker file that I'm going to use it right now. So what I'm going to do right now is copy this path because I want to run my whole thing on a specific path only, so I don't get any issue, right? Okay, so let's take help from pipeline syntax. We can find this with Docker registry. URL we don't need to provide because we are using Docker Hub, so by default it's set. And here credentials I have already added. The Docker installation also we can select, and yes, so this is ready, right? The block inside which we are going to run. So I'll paste it here, remove this part, and okay. Now what we need to do is as I mentioned that our Docker file exists on a specific location. Two ways you can basically build a Docker image. One is like you need to provide the path manually, but the problem that will appearing there is like it has some commands to copy files. If I open this, you see it has basically, see, okay, let me explain you the Docker file as well. It has 3 sections. First one is like, first of all, we are taking a base image and we are defining our some variables, src URL, the URL from where the Mozilla Firefox is going to be downloaded, and we are defining another variable or argument, you can say, the base image. This base image is basically created by the owner of the repository itself. Okay, then we have these commands, so these are also going to be used for installation of Firefox, and we have some configuration files which needs to be copied on the Docker image. So there are only 3 sections, right? Okay, coming back here. So now what we need to do is we need to go on this location. We need to stay on this location, Firefox folder, so that we have access to all these files, because these files needs to be copied. So for that we have very interesting tool. Yeah, directory. Where is it? Change current directory. Okay, now talking about what path we are going to have, so that we can provide the details. So what I can do, let me click on apply. Once again, let me remove this first. Okay, so let us run this one time so that we can check also if it is running fine or not. And I assume that OS dependency check is going to fail, but some interesting thing you are going to learn if it fails. So I have clicked on build now, and build is scheduled, build has started. Now if you're running it for the first time, and so whatever tools you have configured in the pipeline, they are going to be set up. This happens for the first time, like sonar scanners getting set up, unpacking, you can see, and unpacking OS dependency check as well, right? Because we are running it for the first time. So this might take a few minutes. Okay, so let's wait for it. Once it is done, then I'll be back. And as I told you, this OS dependency check is going to fail, but we are going to learn a very interesting thing about dependency checks. So yeah, let's wait for it. Okay, team, back. Now here, what interesting is that you see here, this is success. This is success. Here nothing is showing, but it's not. Yeah, here also it's showing success. Then where exactly it failed? So in this case, always check OS dependency check, because even if it fails here, it won't be showing key it's failed. Okay, now let me show you what exactly was the reason for its failure. If I scroll down, you see what was failed: node audit analyzer. Okay, how do we fix it, right? So a very important thing that you should never forget is this part: additional arguments. You see, as of now we are just using one, right? But there are tons of hundreds of arguments available. Where can you find it? You can find it, oh, you can just simply type OS dependency check arguments. First link that comes, you can just click on it, and you see there are lots of arguments. So here we are going to search for audit, and node audit. This we can use. So if I implement it here or add it here, what will happen? It won't be doing the node audit analyzer won't be running. Okay, and this will make sure that our job is fixed. Okay, now yes, so these stages are done. SonarCube also was successful, I guess. Let me check. Yes, we have the reports ready. Interesting. Okay, so quickly let us add the Docker stage, then we will run it again. And how do we add Docker stage? So let me just create a copy of this, paste it here. Let's provide the name as Docker build and tag. Okay, and this is for image. Okay, so first of all we need to create a block, which we can do from here. Let me go to with Docker registry. Okay, but before that we are going to enclose that block inside a script in this format, and now we can paste our script, Docker script. Let's remove this part. Okay, now let us build our Docker image. But before that, as I explained you, Docker image is on a specific location, so we need to make sure that we are going to that location and then we are building it. So for that, first we can find the workspace, and this is the location, right? So I will just copy this, go to here, and here we are going to select directory. Where is it? This one, path, also browser slash dot docker slash Firefox. And exactly .docker Firefox, and there we have this configuration files as well as the Docker file, right? So we will generate the script, copy this, go to our browser, configure, paste it. Now whatever command we run now for Docker, it is going to run in this block, in this location actually. So quickly let me run that as well. As such, double quotes, Docker build -t for tagging, and I'm going to provide my own name, username Adi Jaiswal slash, let's provide the name as VB, and tag will be latest. Now this Docker image, it is getting built and tagged. Okay, so next thing that I need to do is scan this Docker image once it is built. Okay, how do we do that? So first we need to make sure that we have Trivy installed. So for Trivy, if I scroll down, we may find the steps to install it. Let me quickly find it. So left Trivy. Yes, Trivy installation steps. So these are like, see, it's not key. These are some specific commands for installation. They are the commands from official documentation page. So yeah, you can find them very easily on Google. Copy this. Just a reminder, team, the DevSecOps course 0 to Hero is starting from 5th of January. If you're interested, you can connect with me about knowing more about the course. And if it suits you, you can join it. Okay. Okay, so Trivy is almost installed. Trivy is done. So we can quickly create a stage for Trivy as well. So let me copy this and create a stage. And name I am going to provide as Trivy Docker scan. And let me remove this thing. Sh Trivy scan. Sorry, Trivy image. Docker image name we need to provide. In our case, it's going to be this one, right? Great. Now, once this part is done, we need to make sure that we have pushed our Docker image. So for that, I can copy this and create another stage quickly. And name I can provide as Docker push image. Great. So let me remove this now, and I can run the command as sh docker push and the name of the Docker image. Okay, one more thing that you can do, usually if I run this command, it will generate the report in the console log itself. If you want to generate it on a different specific file, you can use this trivy.txt. Any name you can put wherever, but for now let's just go with the normal thing. But yeah, this is the way you can generate. Okay, so this is done, and let's try to run it so we can see if it is working fine or not. And this time I don't think that this OS dependency check should be failing. And yes, you can see it was completed. There is no error now. Okay, and now we are running this on our cube analysis stage, so let's wait for it to complete. Okay, now it's in the Docker stage, so let's see. Okay, some issue is there, so let us quickly correct it. Docker. Okay, we did not provide the location of our Docker image, so just I need to put a small dot, which will be like this. Okay, and I guess this should fix the issue. This won't take much time because we have already set up, like first time it took a huge amount of time for OS dependency check. The reason, because it downloads a database complete information, then only it can work. Okay, and once that database is downloaded, then it is available in local, from where OS dependency check can compare the dependencies. So for that reason, second time it did not take lots of time. Okay, scrolling down now. Yes, so Docker image building is being done, so let's wait for it to get completed. there are whole lots of commands in the Docker image for it to work. So yeah, it's happening now. I'm sorry team, my voice is maybe little bit different because its throat is little bit affected. Okay, so Docker tagging and image building is done. Okay, now the Trivy Docker scan is running for the image that we have just built now. Now we are pushing our Docker image. This is the base image actually that we are using. It's coming for the original owner of the repository who has created it. So yeah, let's wait for it to get completed. Meanwhile, let me show you the second thing that we are going to do. There is one more stage that is pending. Okay. Okay. Let me explain you a little bit about this Docker Compose file. Okay. So version we are using 3, but the user used 3.4, which was not working for me. So for that purpose, I'm just going with 3. Then we have services. We have one service which is Nico, which is the name of this whole application. And here by default, you can see the Docker image that is being used is this one, which is the original version from user. But I am going to use my own Docker image. Then we have restart and stop. That is another feature. Then we have SHM size. SHM size is basically shared memory size, which we are giving 2 GB. And coming to ports, so application will be accessible on port 8080, but we are opening a dynamic range port also, which is 52,000 to 52,100 in UDP. Okay, now you might be thinking why we are using a dynamic range. So there is something known as EPR. We are using it here also, enhanced port range. So having a dynamic range helps very much for this application to work properly, because what we are going to do, we can perform streaming also, which I will show you in a minute. So for that reason, if we are using a dynamic port range, it's very much helpful. Coming to another thing with respect to this application, so this application might be little bit properly like it will be working. Why? Because it is using a feature WebRTC, which is known as real-time communication with web. Okay, so because of that, that is a networking concept that is very useful while you want to transfer data and very smoothly. Okay, so these are the things, and there are some other arguments like what is the screen size, username, password, EPR, isolate. Isolate is also with like related to uh, WebRTC, which is used for this transference. Okay, so yeah, we need to edit this little bit because we need to provide our own file, and this great. So the job is successful, and let me get the name of Docker image, which is this one. So now I'll be replacing this with my own Docker image. Commit changes, the rest everything seems fine. Okay, one more thing team, as this is consider this a task for yourself. Build and deploy different applications which you can find here, and just tag me, post it on LinkedIn, then it will be really useful. Okay. Okay, so this is done. Now we need to add the Docker Compose stage. So we can click on configure, scroll down, and let me copy this stage to create the deployment stage. So we can provide the name as deploy, and at this point we won't be needing these things. Okay, let me check number of yeah, these are correct. So now I can run the command as docker-compose up -d. Why I'm using -d? So that the application can be deployed and it can run in backend also, so that my Jenkins job can exit. -d basically means in running in detached mode. Okay, so that's fine. And one last thing, let us just run it. Jenkins file I'll just add in my Telegram group. You can just copy from there. Okay, So let's wait for it to complete. See, very fastly this OS dependency check stage is completing very fastly within 6-7 seconds. But for the first time, it took around multiple minutes. Why? Because it was downloading the database. Not exactly the database, it downloads something that contains all the information about the vulnerabilities. Okay. Okay, so it's completed. We can scroll down at the end and our application is up and running. So let's see if we can access it. And as we remember that the application was running on port 8080, right? So let's try to access it. And you can see it is application is deployed. It is asking for username credentials. So I'll provide the username as Nico. Password will be admin. Click on connect. Interesting. You can see it's running fine. We can click on this for the controls, and here we can type, or we can simply click on YouTube. And here you can click on DevOps Shack. Yes, being a little bit selfish to show you my own page, but yeah. And you can see how easily it's running. Everything is running. We have 27.8 thousand. Let's see if we can click on this, and whole browser is now running in full mode. Okay. Now the best part that this is completely secure and it's running in an isolated environment, which is very interesting. Okay. So yes, team, this is how we can build and deploy this kind of interesting application, which is using UDP also, because it is the specific things which is being used by this application is UDP and WebRTC, which are making it to run very smoothly in the browser itself. Okay. So yes, this application is complete, and Jenkins file you can find in the Telegram channel. Okay. And if any other questions, you can just put in Telegram and I'll be happy to answer. Also, team, as you remember that from 5th of January, the DevSecOps Zero to Hero batch is starting uh, from 5th of January. So if you are interested, you can enroll. Okay. So yeah, that will be all for today, and thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Be safe. Happy New Year.